Yeah.
$2053. If you're tuning in and watching, I want you to remember that year, 2053. That's the year that Prosperity Now predicts that the median net worth of the African American is going to go down to zero. A stat and a number that we honestly have not seen since the Great Recession. Now, I've wrestled with this so much because I love our people so much. The question I keep asking myself is, how do we get here? Why is this the case? Well, here's the deal. The reason why we're in this situation is because we have taken this mindset of consumerism. Now, people may say to me, hey, Joe, we don't have income. That is not accurate. We have income. We have resources. Matter of fact, CNBC said that in 2022, we had a spending power of $1.6 trillion. That's more than some countries. So we have the power. We have the spending power to make change. My name is Joseph Nyamwange, and I am the founder of Nyamwange Foundation and the creator of the Financial Legacy Academy. And it's my belief that the way our people are going to recover and change the trajectory of where we're going is making that mindset shift from consumer to owner, from consumer to entrepreneur. The days of just consumption and racking up credit card debt and spending beyond our means is not the answer. We got to take a different approach. That's why me and my wife decided to create this Financial Legacy Conference with the focus this year on being the power of entrepreneurship, the power of ownership. For us to go back to our roots and what we've always were designed to be creators who own things. Now, I'm excited. Look, we got an amazing lineup of folks today. People who I know genuinely care about our people. And we were very intentional when me and my wife selected. Here's what our rule of thumb was. Number one is, do they love the African-American people? But number two, do they have the heart and the grit to get things done? And these are ordinary people. These aren't, high-flying influencers who are just looking for life. These are people who are in the trenches getting the work done. So the layout's going to be clear. We are going to have a fireside chat with entrepreneurs who created businesses from scratch. We're going to talk to folks who understand the power of ownership in the stock market and real estate. We're going to talk to someone who can help us around getting budgets so that we have money left over to invest in our business. But more importantly, we're going to put a legacy spin on this. That it's not just for us to take care of ourselves, but how do we make sure the next generation of folk don't fall into the same trap of student loan debt? So we're going to go through it. My ask, guys, is that you stay locked in for this 2-hour stint. And our hope is that from this, two things are going to happen. One is you're going to become more aware that whatever you want to do is possible, that God birthed something into you that could do something extraordinary. But number two, you'll be inspired to act. Now, we're going to make an offer at the end of this to help you guys become owners. And if you need to make a shift, make a shift. But I promise you that if you stay in, you're going to understand what the power of ownership can be. So for the first person up, I am super excited to bring someone I call a brother, someone who I've admired, who I've learned and I've loved to watch, who is living out his dreams, but still putting in the work and the grind. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome my brother, SanMiguel, who's going to talk about ownership, the real about ownership. Let's get it.
Yes.
Financial Legacy Conference, let's welcome founder of Kale,
a nonprofit focused on the leadership development of Cuban natives in the Americas. He is also one of the founders of Cortaditos, a Cuban coffee shop currently running 6 locations in North New Jersey. Mr. Adam SanMiguel with the power of ownership.
Adam SanMiguel.
My man. How are you? Hey, Sasha.
How are you?
Dude, man, we are so happy to have you here, brother. So happy to have you. We try to tee it up. We put you up first because we know you're going to come with the energy. We know you're going to come with the heat. But more importantly, you're going to be honest and genuine, man. Me and my wife know you well, but people who are watching may not know you. So if you don't mind, man, just talk to the folks. Let them know who you are, your story, and how'd you become an entrepreneur.
Why we love you so much.
Thank you so much, Joe, Sash. What a pleasure. What an honor to be here. And I mean that sincerely. It's an honor to participate in this meaningful effort, man. So kudos to you. Thank you for having me. And thank you to the audience that is tuning in to make their lives and our communities better. So, Joe, to answer your question, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a soldier. And I'm a philanthropist. So I'm a proud owner of Cortaditos Coffee Shop, which is a coffee shop chain that has right now 4 stores and a 5th under construction. We've got about 60 plus employees and about $5+ million in sales every year. I'm the founder of Calle, which is the nonprofit organization, which was mentioned in the introduction, that has helped about 100 plus students through leadership development and college scholarships. And then finally, I'm a soldier in the Coast Guard Reserve, which I'm very proud of, and I get a lot of joy of out of serving this great country that we live in. So that's a quick summary of who I am and my journey a little bit through entrepreneurship, through philanthropy, and through military service.
I love it. I mean, so maybe so tell me, how did you? Obviously, I know you've worked for some years in corporate. Tell me how you got to that space and that journey, that evolution of, hey, look, I want to start something, create something that I can call my own.
Yeah. So my journey to entrepreneurship, as you know, Joe, took root in philanthropy. So I founded the nonprofit organization 10 years ago. This year is when we got our official 501c3 nonprofit certification from the US IRS. And through that, I would go to the local community members and local businesses fundraising for our yearly scholarship gala. And in one of those efforts, I came across my now partner in the business, Andres Carrillo, who had 2 coffee shops at the time, Sweets and Cortaditos, and through years of partnering on me being that corporate tech guy, as you mentioned, working remotely at his coffee shop, and him being a coffee shop owner, sponsoring my gala with his coffee and pastries, we became dear friends. And over a few years, we started to put our heads together, get to know each other more. And the idea came up, hey, do you want to help me take this coffee shop to the next level? At the time, it was a very neighborhood, old school, traditional Cuban bakery coffee shop. And the idea was, how can I take this to the next level? And him and I partnered on that. And 3 years later, we're going on our 5th store with plans for many more, with a central kitchen. And here's Cortaditos today. So my journey to entrepreneurship began through social entrepreneurship, much like yourself. So I'm proud of that story. It's a core part of our DNA as an organization, is that commitment to social impact, not just selling coffee for $1 or selling a pastry for $1, but it's, what are we doing with that dollar? How are we treating our people? How are we treating our employees, our vendors, and how do we treat the community? So there's a holistic perspective to how we go about our social entrepreneurship and our social impact through this very conscious business of ours called Cortaditos.
That's so amazing. Okay, so can you share with us the breakthrough moment where you felt like your hard work really paid off?
Yeah. Before we had opened the first store together in Union City, the contractors are kind of putting their final touches on the painting on the wall, bringing in the POS systems, and across the street from where the store is where my grandfather used to live. And he's no longer with us, passed away years ago, but having come from Cuba and struggling a lot and having to work till he was 88, till 2 weeks before he passed away, I kind of felt like he was looking on me.
Mm.
And if you visit Cortaditos, 45th Street in Union City, we've got these beautiful windows that go up,
Yeah.
and you kind of have this feel where the street and the inside of the store are one. You know, it's kind of the vibe we have. And so looking out, like right now, I broke down and cried. And someone took a picture of it. They're like, why is he crying? He's like the owner. He's gotta cut our checks, right? He had to pay the electrician or whoever was putting the final touches on. So it was a beautiful moment where there was so much passion, so much hard work, so much activity. When you're doing a physical store, there's so many components, right? There's plumbing, electric, there's paint, there's the technology, there's the product, there's the tables, there's so much stuff. And in the middle of that, I kind of just looked up and saw my roots, and it made me feel connected, you know.
It's amazing.
I love it, man.
Not you having me tear up already.
And this is just the first thing, man. Hey, so Adam, thank you for sharing this.
That's amazing.
Let me ask you this, man, because I think there are a lot of people who are tuning in who have a heart to give back, who want to make a difference. But Adam, they're scared, man. Like they see the stats, 95% of businesses fail. And you're in the restaurant business. Those are one of the harder businesses to do. Like, what would you tell somebody who's scared to take that step, that leap, because they're scared of failure?
Joe, the underpinning of this chat that we're having is what your Financial Legacy Academy instills. I couldn't have took this step if it wasn't for everything I did before this step in terms of my financial preparation, right? So being disciplined, being frugal, not overspending, not spending at what I make, but spending well below. And when you have that delta from what you make and what you spend, that's the gap that defines your freedom, right? That's why it's called financial freedom. It's because you get to work, save, invest to be able to buy your freedom. So I couldn't have made this step if the previous years, and I'm even go back to a decade of financial discipline, were not the foundations and the underpinning of this. Because you need time to fail. You need time, in my case, to not pay myself, years in that case, right? So you've got to have the budget, you've got to have the savings, you've got to have the investments before you make that move, which goes into the preparation. So for anyone tuning in, if they're looking for that aha moment from any of these sessions, they're just frankly wrong. It's what moments and what teachings can I get from this Legacy Academy throughout many, many years that will help me build to my moment, not some light switch, not some aha gimmick, not some, quick get rich scheme. It's just putting into place the things that you teach, Joe, in your Financial Legacy Academy, that gets people to their own point of financial freedom, of making that commitment.
Yeah. Have you faced any moment where have you been through any moment where you felt like giving up?
Oh, absolutely. They never go away. So if anyone's, waiting for that aha moment to this happened and I never look back, I got to be honest. I don't know if we can curse here, but it's complete bullshit, Joe. So I know you're a religious man.
Right, you're good. Safe space.
You're okay.
No. So I'm gonna go to the Bible on you on this one. So we both follow Inky Johnson, and the quote that he quotes from the Bible that for me is what I try and dive deep into and get profound in those moments is the following. He says, consider it pure joy, my brothers and sisters, when you face trials of many kinds, because you know that the testing of your faith produces perseverance. Let that perseverance finish its work so that you may be mature and complete and not lacking anything. So when it's the down times, you've got to experience the joy in that moment. If you're not, you're just playing half the game. You got to play the full game, and you've got to enjoy it, the full game. So when it's down and when you feel like quitting, dig deep and find the meaning in that. And that's joy. That's joy. When you're arguing, when you feel like you got to quit, when your bank account has gone negative a couple times, when you got to barter, and when you're in the grit and the grind and the trenches. I'm a soldier. When you're in the trenches, you got to find joy in that. If you don't, it's not your sport. It's not your sport.
Well, let me ask you this question to follow up that. What role did your community play in helping you persevere through that? Whether it's your family, your friends, did you see your community shift? Talk to me about that. 'Cause I think
Yeah.
there's some people that need to make some changes there as well.
Yeah, of course, of course. So for me, my community and those pillars of that community that you just listed, family, friends, neighborhood, that's the why, right? So if it was just about the coffee and the dollars that coffee brought to my pocket, I would have quit a while ago. It was much easier to make money in corporate tech like we used to do. Like the tasks were easier, right? We talk about this. The tasks were easier. The hardest part was getting in to one of these world class companies, but building one is another dish story. So the why behind what we're doing and our aspirations and how we treat our community and how we fund nonprofits and how we hire refugees partnering with nonprofits and how we always sponsor local sports teams that I grew up playing with and you as well. That's the reason why we're building this, because we're trying to be a different type of business that our community is not used to seeing. They're used to seeing that people just take the dollar out of the profit and go back and buy some Bergen County home and just visit the community when they want to get that dollar. We're not. We're in it. We're investing in it. We support it. We support the nonprofits. We support the social fabric of our community. And for me, it doesn't let me quit. That does not let me quit. I can't quit.
Mm.
Yeah.
That's great.
That's awesome.
That's great.
What does success look like for you? And how do you define success when it comes to your business?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'll say I define success the way I saw one time Warren Buffett define success. And Warren Buffett told a story about a friend of his that was a Holocaust survivor.
Mm.
And that Holocaust survivor was hidden in someone's house from the Nazis. And the message he walks away with is he knows a lot of people that have tough relationships with their kids, that don't have good relationships with their family, their friends, and really their vibe and their energy that they've put out is clear. But if you have people that would hide you in the scenario that was the Holocaust, that's success. And Joe, I know I have a lot of people that would hide me, and I know I would hide a lot of people, risking my life for them too. And for me, that's success. Surrounding yourself with those people that would risk their lives for you and that you would risk your life for them. And I have a lot.
Oh, amen to that.
I just love your passion right now. I'm so moved.
And guys, I mean, me and Adam go way back. Everything you see me preach about helping my community, these are stories that him and I shared for the last 10 years. And so, dude, I love you. I'm honored. Is there one last thing you would want to say to the folks who are watching, who, again, you know, they're either dabbling with entrepreneurship or they've started a couple businesses and failed, or they're starting a business, but they're not reaping some of the benefits that you're talking about? What would you tell them?
You got to go back to the basics. I'm not promoting your financial academy, but I am promoting it. It's not my point of saying this, but it's the truth. The financial discipline that I've had the past 10 plus years, having one car, living under my means, not spending on outlandish things, right? Always trying to invest, taking literally your advice on where and how to invest. Those things created the foundation for me to take this leap from corporate America, making X with a family, with a house, with commitments, with a nonprofit, lowering my income and still being able to move forward and then grind through that process. But if I had to go back and enter corporate America because I hadn't had a financial status that was living under means, well under means, with savings, with investments, then I couldn't be in this business to innovate it correctly and take the proper steps forward that the business needs me to be taking in order to grow it. It just would not be in the same place. So the financial discipline that you try and instill, or that you're attempting to instill out in this conference and outside of this conference, is the game. It is the game. The rest comes with it because you start investing, you start saving, and that gives you the opportunity to find your passions, to be curious. And when you chase those curiosities and you chase those passions with a pure heart, not trying to make a dollar from it, or not with a certain something you're looking to get out of it, but you're chasing it because it's pure, it opens up doors that you don't have to be fake, you can be authentic in. And that's what happened in my case, where I was just pursuing the nonprofit that I cared so much about, that I care so much about. And through that, I've met so many wonderful people, including my now business partner, which we're in business today. So those key steps of the financial discipline, that financial wellness to get to the freedom allows you to take that step. And if you don't, it's going to make entrepreneurship hard, and it's going to make it artificial for you. It won't make it authentic. You're going to have to cut corners. You're going to have to trade your soul. You're going to have to do business with people you don't want to do because you're not fully ready for it. So be prepared by doing the financial literacy, uh, financial freedom practices, and prepare for your business. Read. Don't just assume that you watch TikTok videos and you watch YouTube and now you're an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur now. Everybody wants to be an entrepreneur, but no one wants to read 10 plus books, 20 plus books, 30 plus books a year, right? So put the work in on both sides, educating yourself and getting your finances right. And the steps to take finance, it'll be a cakewalk because you'll be ready for it.
Adam, dude,
that was amazing.
So good, so good.
That was amazing.
Guys, if you're in the chat, man, and you feeling Adam, man, just say we love Adam. That's all you got to say. We love Adam.
Man.
If you're in North Jersey, you got to go to his coffee shop. Some of the best sandwiches, best coffee. I mean, there's some Cuban food that I look for reasons to go to Jersey, you know. And you said you're opening up a fifth location.
Harrison, New Jersey, Hudson County down, baby. Chill town. Coming soon.
Love it. Adam, thank you so much. I appreciate you, brother. And I look forward to doing life with you, brother. Really do.
Love you, Joe. Love you, Sasha. I'm here to serve.
You got it. Look, guys, that was Adam. We are pumped by what he continues to do. And he's giving you an honest, truthful experience in entrepreneurship. I think there are other angles and there are other things to think through.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure we had some time specifically for mothers, because mothers, you have the burden of not just raising children, but I believe you're more than just a caregiver, right? Yes. You are a businesswoman. My wife is a businesswoman. She runs our real estate. And I wanted y'all to hear from someone who I adore, whom I love, a good friend of mine. Let's make some noise for Lavada Wright on this concept of Mommaprenuership.
Financial Legacy Conference, let's welcome founder and CEO of Hair Credible, a hair brand that was formulated to grow, hydrate, and nourish all hair types. She is a wife, mom of 7, entrepreneur, and motivator, Miss Lavada Wright, with the power of ownership.
Lavada!
Hey!
What's going on? How are you?
I'm sick.
Okay.
Oh, no.
Well, look, I don't want to keep you too long. I know you're not well. Thank you for being available.
Of course.
We appreciate you. We honor you. If you can, just let everybody know a little bit about who you are, kind of what you do, and then we'll get a couple questions and we'll get you out of there.
Well, my name is Lavada Wright. I am owner of Hair Credible Hair Care. I also have my other business, Mom Boss World, which is more of me trying to grow my personal brand as far as like motivation, a motivation YouTube channel, and I do want to speak more. So yeah. And then, of course, I'm a mom of 7 and a wife.
you can't just drop that. Like, of course, I'm a mom of 7. She has 7 children.
Yes.
I do. I have 7 kids. Yep, 4, 5 twins. That's 7. And then I have an 8-year-old, and then I have a 14 and a 17.
Wow.
And you still doing it.
That's incredible.
Help me understand, Lavada, because I think there's a lot of mothers out there who want to open their own business, but they're nervous of like work-life balance. And a lot of them take the back seat to their husbands. Like, hey, look, you do your thing and I'm going to sit here, and this resentment grows. How do you balance like being a mother and running a business?
I have everything I live on a schedule. So everything is time blocks. Everything is, if I'm off schedule, then my day is kind of messed up. So, I'm a gym girly. So, you got to fit the gym, then straight from the gym, you got to do, getting the kids ready, take them to school. Like I live in like blocks. So that's pretty much how I balance. I'm not gonna say it's times where my husband like, hello, like, yeah, he's like, dang, like I've been trying to call you, and I'm like, really, but yeah, it's you're not always gonna have balance all the time. Um, but I do make sure I prioritize them. So that's what I could say. I live in blocks, and then I make sure I prioritize the kids and him first. So
That's
I
good.
make sure homework time is non-negotiable. I make sure, taking the kids to school is non-negotiable. I have non-negotiables. That's what I feel like. Because I feel like as mothers, we are people pleasers. We are nurturers. So it's like we nurture the kids and we make sure we please our husbands, but then we also gonna nurture our business too. But it's some things that you have to prioritize over the other.
That's so true. How do you carve out time for yourself though? Outside of the gym, like how else do you carve out time for yourself?
Yeah, that's a good one.
Um, and in the beginning, I used to always make sure I take myself out to eat at least once a week. That's just something I have to do. I have to date myself. I like to go out to dinner. I like to take myself, I like to get dressed really nice, take myself out to dinner. If it's where I can't get dressed really nice, I don't care if it's a slice of pizza. Like I'm gonna go and sit there and eat a slice and a beef patty. That's how I was in the beginning. In the beginning, I had no money. I was broke. And I'm like, all I could afford is one slice of pizza and a beef patty with cheese. And I swear to God, every week I would squeeze that in. So that's how I started. Just making sure, if it's not every single day, make sure at least once or twice a week that you're dating, like you're taking yourself out on a date where it's just you by yourself. That's a non-negotiable. So when I say it's non-negotiables, that's a non-negotiable. Or
Okay.
sometimes when mommy want to go to the store, I go to the store that's long, far. You know what I mean? And I do that because I need that just that peace, that me time, that time to think, because I'm thinking about other things. Also, when I pull in the driveway, if I don't have time to go out, even when I pull in the driveway, I will sit in the car for an hour. Like I think all mothers do that. We sit in the car.
Guilty.
We
Guilty.
sit in the car, eat our food.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I always keep a notebook in my bag. So, even if it, on my me time, I'm either brainstorming or I'm just sitting there. I'm just sitting there like, like just catching a minute. Though that is important because I just feel like we're always on go.
Yeah.
Like 24/7, we always on go. So it's those moments that's non-negotiable. And if my husband calls something like that, this moment is non-negotiable. I will hit you when I'll hit you when I'm finished.
I
You
love
know what I'm
that.
saying? So yeah.
I love that. No, boundaries are critical for everybody. And I think it's dope, Lavada, with 7 kids and a husband and a career, like all that stuff, you still stick to your non-negotiables. Because a lot of times
Yeah.
people like, they cut them like, oh yeah. And then before you know it, they're back to like,
Yeah,
not
you
to,
have to, or you'll constantly just be a runner. Like you'll
yeah,
just
for
constantly be
sure.
a runner
For sure.
and you'll outwork yourself and you'll be exhausted.
Let me ask you this question. I want to talk specifically about your business. I know obviously I've known you since 3rd grade, so you and I have been close for a
Yeah.
while. But you just talk to me about kind of the evolution of Hair Credible, some of the trials and tribulations that you had to go through, the packaging. I've seen some of the stuff you post, so inspirational about how you and your kids and how you're working around the clock. Talk to me about some of those experiences, like how it's been that journey as an entrepreneur, as a mompreneur.
I started Hit Credible because I used to lose a lot of hair. I used to lose a lot of hair. At first, it was postpartum, which was stressful. But then it was because I'm anemic, which was stressful. And then I started playing around, getting my hair done all the time and dealing with alopecia after that. So I just wanted to just play around with different products to see what grow my hair back. Because I had a big smack bald spot right here. It was like bald for real, for real. And like I could not grow it back. So when I worked in New York, I worked next door to like a dermatologist and they gave needle injections, the steroid injections to at least like get it to grow, just to get like a little fuzz. And I was like, I ain't got no money at the time. I'm a single mom with 2 kids. I don't know what to do. So he like snuck, he like, if you give me $20, I'll sneak a little injection here and there. So I'm like, okay. He like, but that's not really gonna do nothing. You need 6 treatments, but I could give you 1. So I'm like, all right. So I paid him slid him the little $20, and he did the injections. But like he said, it wasn't really gonna do nothing. So I just started playing around with different oils and butters and just all types of stuff. And when I found like certain ingredients that just had my hair growing back, I'm like, oh, I need to put this in a product. So that's when I started calling manufacturers and everything and like, I need a product, but with these ingredients, like I need it formulated a certain way. Like, so then, it was a trial tribulation with that, just going back and forth. I remember when we finally got the formulation down, she went missing. So she stole my money.
Oh no.
I had 2 different chemists stole my money because back then in the beginning of business, I'm starting a brand with no paperwork. So I had to learn the hard way. So then once I learned like contracts and stuff like that, okay, I need to have them write something, and with my money and stuff like that. It was hard because I was broke, and it's like the only how I could start my business was with my tax money. You know what I mean? Because I knew like, okay, with 2 kids, I'm gonna give me a little coin, a little, so I'm like, a little 5,000-6,000. So I'm like, I need to use my tax money. So when she stole my money, I had to start all over and wait for a whole nother year. And then that person stole my money, and I had to wait a whole nother year again. And then this time I moved smarter. And I had them sign a contract and paperwork, and then we finally got a formulation going. It took a little while, but we finally got a formulation going. And yeah, that's when I started finding like a facility where they could package and stuff, like put the labels and things on it. And because I just knew like I didn't want to do that by hand. Because I was like, I'm gonna be a big brand. Like, I'm not doing that by hand. Like, I want to pay a facility. I might have to come out of pocket a little bit, but I'm just going to do what it takes because I know it's going to be big, so I'm going to take that risk. So yeah, that's what I did, and from there I started selling my products on the train. I used to have a rolling book bag, and I used to just pass out flyers because I worked in New York. I worked in New York doing concierge, and I worked overnight, so I always knew the time everybody gets on the train and the time that everybody gets off the train. So when it was rush hour time, I knew that that was my time to be on go. So I like clockworked everything. So once I saw that it was rush hour, I made sure I put a flyer on every single chair because in New York, everybody wants to sit down when they going on the train, and they're not gonna just sit down on a flyer because we don't know what's under it. We don't know if it's gum or liquid or anything. So I knew that they was gonna pick the flyer up, and when they picked the flyer up, they just looked at it. They didn't just throw it on the floor. So that's how I started with my marketing. So I use that as marketing. The trains, the PATH trains, and
Nice.
the subways. I use that as my marketing, and then that's when I started doing pop-up shops and things like that with my products. And yeah, once I started moving product, I mean, I was busy and it was only me. So I started bringing my babies. I used to have a stroller downstairs. I had one baby in the stroller, but then I started having babies back to back to back. I used to have my twins helping me pack orders, the baby in the stroller, looking on, and just my older girls helping me pack the orders. Like, we just started doing like a family thing.
So
So yeah.
let me just, I got to give you your flowers now. Like, this is stuff, y'all, that we don't see on necessarily captured on Instagram, TikTok, and
Yeah, because
this
I
is
be
the
trying to
grind.
record, but when the kids see me recording, they just be wanting to touch stuff and everything.
Nah, but seriously, I'm talking about like on the train giving your hair products, right?
Oh
Like,
yeah.
you see what I'm saying? I think a lot of people, we glorify
Right.
entrepreneurship. And by the way, guys, I'm as a newly pure entrepreneur, but the idea of entrepreneurship is equivalent with hard work and grit and grind and rejection and failure and pick yourself back up.
Yeah,
add it
because
to the
everybody
deal.
just goes
Do
to
it.
digital now. Everybody just want to buy Facebook ads, but they don't really that guerrilla marketing is everything.
The
Cause it's
grounding.
like you really get in front of the people
Yes.
and
Yes.
grind. Like, I was
Yes.
in snow, I was in rain, like I was out here.
But
I
what
was
it does to
popping the
you,
trunk.
though. What it
Hmm?
does, I said, I love what it does to you as an individual. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah.
I feel like when you go through these experiences, you transform as an individual.
You do. You do.
You know what I mean?
I guess I
It
want to
turned.
know.
I felt like it turned me into like a beast. I used to always say that. I say I'm a beast.
That's what's up. That's what's up. I'm curious to know though, do you experience any mom guilt?
Yeah, I experience mom guilt a lot. But I always make sure that I'm around. So it's just like it's pretty much like I look at it like mommy's going to work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Look, I could talk to you all for a long time. I think if there's one thing you could tell the mothers who are watching, who want to start a business but they're scared, or who never.
See, that's the babies. That's your baby. That's your baby. Ah.
Yeah, he
See,
trying to get.
look. See, you know what? They chimed in on the best segment, which is mompreneurship. And look, Sasha is the mompreneurship. This is what I'm talking about. Like you stay here interviewing me, and you still getting the job done, and the kids in the back, and the kids in the back hanging on the ceiling fans.
It's our
That
life.
is pure mompreneurship right there.
For real.
I love it.
If I ever did see it.
Yeah. So you might be the one to answer the question. I mean, yeah. Nah, but look, Veda, we love you. I'm gonna be rooting for you. If y'all don't have,
yes, I'm rooting for y'all. And I'm happy to see you, Sasha, because growing up, he used to swear he wasn't gonna get married or nothing one day. Look, I love it.
We winning now. We winning.
Yes.
And look, guys, Hair Credible. Her product is dope. And so follow her on Instagram. Again, continue to be an inspiration, Lavada. We appreciate you, Sasha. I love you. Now, we're gonna find you when we get to the ATL. But thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Guys, y'all heard it from Lavada, the Mommapreneur. She is somebody who we admire. She is part of the family. And look, the hustle and the grit, all this stuff is great. But like even Adam mentioned, you got to make sure you have the financial bearing, that you're managing the money you got right. Yeah. And so we're excited about the program. So before we go to the next person and we start talking about investing in the stock market, the power of ownership, I want you to hear from a couple on their experience with the Financial Legacy Academy.
Hi, my name is Hopeton Smith.
And I'm Sally Smith.
And financial legacy to me means, well, I think of the term finance, which means money, and legacy to me just means length. So just strictly put, how long is your money?
I would think of the legacy of the boys that we have. We want to not only have money that we can live a life that we would want them to have, but something that will allow them to continue to do the same thing for their children. Before Financial Legacy Academy, I would say that the Smith family was, we were secure in where we were. We were paying all our bills on time. We were, making sure that we had what we needed. But one thing that we weren't doing is setting aside things that we could use for later. So we weren't thinking about constantly, what is it that we would need when we retired? What are the things that we would need when our children are in college? We weren't thinking too far down the road. So we were thinking about, we're paying those bills, we are on time, we're getting that credit score up and all that, but not quite thinking about, what was happening after.
I think financial legacy brought a certain amount of consistency to what we were doing. There was planning now. Now we were doing things intentionally and not letting things just fall by the wayside. And I think that was very important to our financial condition.
One of the things that stuck out to me when we were in those classes is that aside from all of these different pieces being these separate, discrete entities, they were actually shown to us in a way that they were kind of interwoven with each other, because you always kind of learn that first you got to do step one, then you got to do step two when you're finished step one. And when we started doing that, we weren't really getting anywhere. So we started to think about ways that for us, especially as people of color, have to kind of look at this. So when we started to think about our future, it's definitely has a more systematic approach. It definitely has a way that we can say we can still do the things that we love to do now, but we're also thinking about our children and our future as a family.
I would absolutely recommend this course. I learned so much when it comes to investing and when it comes to investing in especially housing. You know, these are things that I thought I knew, but I didn't know as well as I thought I did. Joe put a personal touch on this.
If you think that you are not in a spot where you can have kind of like these types of sessions, there's a spot for you.
Yes.
You know, so no matter where you are or wherever you think you are on that trajectory of that legacy you want for your family, there's an understanding within these sessions that'll place you where you need to be on the continuum to get to that point. So if we are at a place where we need to get out of debt, then we need to focus on that. But while we're doing that, we're building other things just at a different rate, right? And so when we start to think about those things, we look at anywhere you may be, single, married, trying to be married, whatever that might be, there's a place for you. So we definitely recommend Financial Legacy Academy.
What'd she say?
Financial Legacy Conference, let's welcome the host and founder of the critically acclaimed New Money, New Problems podcast. As a highly sought-after financial advisor, he helps people leverage the stock market to grow generational wealth. Mr. Brenton D. Harrison, with the power of ownership.
Brenton, my guy.
How's it going?
Good, man. How are you, man? Good to have you. You got me for this one. My wife had to go take care of the kids, man. So
all good. I don't take offense.
Nah, no worries, man. Look, super excited to have you. You and I obviously connected at the Wealth Conference we did in Ohio last year, and I've been following you, man. Your podcast and the work you're doing, man, is just phenomenal. So super excited to have you. I think our listeners are blessed to have your acquaintance. So maybe just, if you can, just let everybody know kind of who you are, kind of your area of expertise, your area of focus, just so that they can know who you are.
Sure. I'm Brenton Harrison. I'm a financial advisor, so I'm based in Nashville, Tennessee. But we have a firm called New Money, New Problems. That's a virtual financial planning firm. So we have clients all over the country that we help with their investments, their budgeting, their student loans. So we have a podcast that kind of facilitates some of that work called the New Money, New Problems podcast. And then just really as a function of the people we serve, a lot of them have student loan debt. So we operate a second podcast that's not connected to our advisory firm called Escape Student Loan Debt. And that's a podcast just for people with federal and private student loan debt.
Oh, dude, man. Dope. So you're going to hear conversations about student loan debt. I brought Brenton on today specifically to help us really get our hands around this idea of the stock market. So look, I get it. Like I tell people all the time, like you could own something, even if you don't have your own company, you could at least own a piece of a company that's innovating. You know what I mean? But there's some people who don't even know what the stock market. So can you just like, let's level set with everybody. How would you define what the stock market is, and maybe just elaborate on why it's important for people, especially our people, to leverage it?
Yeah. Let's first talk about the difference between a bond and a stock.
Okay.
Because people hear stocks and bonds. A bond is when a company is asking to borrow money, right? Mm-hmm. So let's say that you have a company who wants to build a new facility and they issue a bond and they're saying, we want you to give us money and we will borrow that money for a certain period of time and we'll give you regular interest. And then after a period of time, we'll give you your money back. So they're not asking you to be a part owner. They're asking you to lend them some money. A stock is when they're saying, we may want to go build another facility, but in order to get that money, we're actually going to let you buy into the ownership of that company. So to your point, when you buy a stock, you are buying partial ownership into a company. You have the ability to make a vote. You have the ability to share in the profits, but you don't have to share in all of the losses. You know, you can lose money, but it's not the same as if you were like outrunning your own business and you can lose a whole lot more, right? So a stock market is just a place where either the company is putting the stock out for you to buy it for the first time. That would be the primary market. Or the secondary market would be like you walking out of the store and everybody who already has that stock or wants that stock can just trade it amongst themselves. That's the secondary market. So if I have some shares of stock that I want to sell and you have some of that you want to buy, you and I can interact directly on the secondary market.
Dude, are y'all hearing that? Like that's probably one of the best definitions or simplified definition of the stock market. And a lot of people probably operate more in the secondary market, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I guess the question is, why do you think it's important for our community, or do you even think it's important for our community to be invested in the stock market in some form of fashion?
Yeah, I think it's incredibly important because especially when you come from communities like ours, not just the Black community, your first guest was talking about the Cuban community. It's like whenever you're a part of something where you feel like you've been left out, you can be so afraid of it that you're like, I'll just save my way there. And it is very hard to like outsave the cost of living increases, right? So no matter how disciplined you are, you want to have that discipline, but you also want something that gives you the possibility, not the guarantee, but the possibility of having a return of 10, 15, 20%. And fortunately, the stock market offers that opportunity. So it's something where it's like, I don't like terms like the great equalizer or, oh, we're trying to close the racial wealth gap. I'm not really concerned about the person next to me. The stock market offers me an opportunity to do a little bit better for my family, regardless of what's going on in the house next door.
Got it. Okay, so let's just put in the context of our people, right? So one of the things we hear, especially with inflation, we talk about these macroeconomic terms that is really messing with our pockets. Translation, like the cost of everything is going up. So people are finding it hard to find margin. Like how should people, like, give me some strategies on how do I invest when, like, dude, I'm just, it's a struggle. Like everything is going up. Like my spending is going beyond my money. Like what guidance and counseling do you give those people who say, hey, look, I want to invest?
I would say don't assume that in order to invest, you have to go straight into the riskiest thing in the world. It is getting a little bit better if you take your checking or your savings account from a low interest account to a high yield account. Your money may not be in the market, but you're getting better than what you were getting before. Yeah. And then the next step may be that once you have a foundation of savings, you can say, what is the most diversified, way that I can enter into the market while I continue to learn? And then the next step may be, I feel a little more educated. Now I feel like I can have more of a say in the particular investments that I choose. But to me, it's a progression. And I feel like it's like anything, right? We're all human. And for me, the hardest step of any endeavor is the first step. And I feel like so many people are intimidated by that first step into the market that they just don't take it at all. When in reality, you can kind of like gradually progress into some of the more sophisticated investments and just gather knowledge the whole time.
So let's stay on that train of thought. Like there are people who I know personally who said, hey, look, I think I'm gonna give some investment in stock. I'm hearing people talk. I get nervous, and people are just scared to lose their money, man. Bro, that's what it really comes down to. Like, I don't want to get scammed. Like it seems, it's almost like I'm gambling. Like that is a mindset. How do you advise people who are nervous about where to invest, how to invest, what to invest, and they almost elect not to invest because they feel like they might get scammed? Everybody is a thought leader now. Everybody's saying something. What is your counsel for them, Brenton?
So there's a concept, and I don't know if you can hear that knock. My 6-year-old is not honoring the don't answer the don't open the door. But so what I would say is there's a concept in investing called risk tolerance, and risk tolerance is essentially you determining what level of loss you can endure before you feel the need to make a change. And I think that there's an assumption that being in the stock market means that you are in the most aggressive thing possible. And that's not true. There's all different levels of investments. There's moderate, conservative, moderately aggressive. And as you evaluate an investment, you can actually see how they've categorized it. So you can Google what's the most moderately aggressive or moderately conservative investment that I can choose and start to from that group of investments, find which one is right for you.
Oh, dude, that's awesome, man. I appreciate it. Is the question I have, and we got to get ready to wind down. If there was one thing you would want to tell the individual who is tuning in, who's watching in, who knows like, I kind of need the stock market, but I'm nervous. This compounded interest thing, I don't even know what that is. Or I want to invest, I just don't know where to go. What final counsel and wisdom would you give to them?
Compound interest is one of the most magical financial instruments that you can come across. And compound interest is interest growing on top of previously accrued interest. That sounds like a really daunting phrase. So let's break it down. If I give you $1 and I say that dollar is going to earn 10% in interest, then at the end of the year, you get 10 cents. Well, compound interest says that the next year, if you get another 10% return, you're not getting 10% on $1. You're getting 10% on $1.10. Yeah. So now you get 11 cents. So when Warren Buffett talks about compound interest, he said, he who doesn't understand it pays it. He who understands it earns it. So what you're doing when you're taking advantage of compound interest is you're saying, I will get to the point, if I can just be disciplined enough to continue to save, where the interest alone will outpace my discipline. So let's say that you have $1,000 in the market and you're the most disciplined person in the world. And I have $10,000 in the market and we get the same return. We get 10%. Well, you're more disciplined than me, but you got $1,000 in the market. You get $100. Yeah. I'm less disciplined, but I have $10,000 in the market. I get $1,000. So you reach the point where if you can be disciplined enough to get to a certain point where that compound interest will outpace whatever you can do on your own efforts.
That's good. That's good. Brenton, man, dude, I appreciate y'all. Listen, Brenton and I, we're about to be locked in, man, for a long period of time. And I appreciate the work that you're doing, your ability to just break it down in simplest forms. Guys, the stock market doesn't have to be scary. Like, it doesn't have to be scary. And there's some basic fundamental terms that you can get. So Brenton, I thank you, bro, for breaking it down and teaching people the power of ownership via the stock market. That stuff was dope. Guys, listen, we are moving along in this conference. We have given y'all gems. I hope you guys are staying tuned. Stock market is one of the key pillars of how me and Sasha built our wealth. I'll tell you that right now. Like, without the stock market, it has literally tripled our wealth over the last decade by the bets we made. But there's another angle to this. It's not just the stock market, at least for me. One of the most interesting dynamics or the most interesting assets to invest in is real estate. Real estate. It's something that my dad taught me, my granddaddy taught me. I'm a product of it. I'm teaching my children it. And every now and then you get to rub shoulders with other people, like-minded people in real estate. And Ike and I, man, we went to college together. I've watched this brother grow. He is a 9-to-5 multimillionaire real estate mogul. He's a principal by day, a real estate giant by night. I'm super pumped to have him here again today. So without further ado, we're going to talk about how you can fund your freedom through real estate with my guy, Investor Ike.
Financial Legacy Conference, let's welcome the founder of Hebron LLC. He currently owns and manages 55 plus doors, all while serving as an assistant principal in the Pennsylvania school system. A true 9-to-5 real estate mogul, Mr. Isaac Hebron, with the power of ownership.
Ike, what's up, brother?
How we doing, Joe?
I'm doing good, man. Better. Oh, one thing I forgot to say, if you're on YouTube tuning in and you have questions, please service them up, bubble them up. I'm going to try to get them to ask Ike. Guys, you have an opportunity to be with someone who has done a lot of the grunt work, the leg work that will save you years of headache. We got the wisdom of my guy, Ike. Ike, I appreciate you. If you can, man, just, swiftly, if you could just share kind of who you are, what you do, and your real estate story, man, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joe. Appreciate everything you're doing here at the Financial Legacy Conference today. Me and Joe met each other in college. Right out of college, I got into education. I was a teacher for 4 years, and then I jumped into administration. And then my first year teaching is when I ended up purchasing my first duplex. I purchased a duplex, was about 100 miles away from a tiny town called Scranton. And from those 2 doors, I've multiplied it into 55 doors. There's a lot in between there, a lot of work, a lot of grinding, a lot of understanding of how things work. Actually, I'm down to 50 doors now, Joe, because I'm starting to really appreciate the high market, and I'm starting to sell some houses and starting to enjoy some liquidity.
I love it. I love it.
dope.
I love it. So, dude, man, how did you manage to have a 9 to 5 and then get a real estate? I think a lot of people feel like I got to be a real estate agent 100%, or choose one. You really can't do both. Maybe just shed some light on that.
Yeah. I think a lot of people have a lot of fear of becoming a landlord. I think the second you tell someone you want to be a landlord, Joe, you're a landlord. The second you tell someone you want to be a landlord, they start the negativity and they say, oh, you shouldn't do that. Oh, I heard about this. The reality is 95% of the properties out there are really great properties, and 95% of the landlords out there enjoy it. Of course, you have headaches. I have a headache right now. But I think at my 9 to 5, you can work for somebody else from your 9 to 5 and work from yourself after 5 o'clock. And that's really the mentality that you have to have. Understanding, number one, it's not that scary to jump in. And number two, you have all that time after you get out of work to work for yourself. So just continue to work just as hard as you work for somebody else, that you work for yourself.
That's so true.
I love it.
That's so true. What advice would you give for somebody who's working a 9 to 5 who wants to start investing in real estate but doesn't know where to begin?
Yeah, I think, don't do what I did, right? Don't look 100 miles away from your home. And that was something I did because I had roots where I was at. I think look where you live now. A lot of people are renting right now. Mortgage rates are starting to come down. It's starting to become a better time to buy. Look in your neighborhood that you live now for, a single family home that you could just buy to, rent to yourself instead of just renting, or you could find a duplex, something that has two units in it. Everyone should know house hacking. If you don't know house hacking, please look it up. It's one of the number one trending things out there that a lot of people do. I was never able to do that. That's when you rent one unit and live in the other. So it splits your mortgage, and you're really able to do that. So that is something that I would tell someone to look into. And then also, if you own your primary residency now and you work a 9 to 5, there's a chance you have a lot of home equity. And we've said this before, Joe, and I've said this before to you multiple times. Don't be afraid to pull out your home equity if the cash flow is right. And that's another thing that you have to make sure the cash flow is right. Otherwise, it won't be a good investment.
So hold on. So that's a gem. So let me ask you this, because I don't think you understand even the term cash flow. What does it mean? So maybe just talk to me, how do you even analyze if this is a good deal?
Yeah. So always a good deal is how much the rent is grossing, right? So it's very simple. If it's a $200,000 house, the rule of thumb is a lot of people like to follow is 1%, right? So if it rents you to $2,000 a month, it's a good amount of rent for you. Now the cash flow aspect comes into it, Joe. Interest rates are really high right now. If it's a $200,000 house and you're at 7%, you might be paying about a $1,700, $1,900 payment. So therefore, your cash flow is only $100 a month, and that's okay for some people because that home you bought for $200,000, Joe. And 10 years from now, Joe, how much is that $200,000 home going to be? We are products of this. We've seen it. You've seen it. That it could be 400,000.
Easy.
So your 10% down that you put on that 20,000 that you put down. Can turn into 200,000 over time with real estate, and that's just really how it is. So there's different aspects of this and different avenues to take.
Got it.
That's so true. So what type of investment do you think is the best for building long-term wealth? Is it real estate? Is it commercial or real
single family
rental?
I don't want to get too tricky in this, and I think a lot of people that own homes for the past 10 years can say their primary residency, right? Like the home that you own, right? The home that you own is one of the best forms of real estate investment. If you don't own right now, I would really encourage you to do everything you can to own. And then if you do own, like I just said, the primary residency is great. If you live in a working class neighborhood, it's great to rent to a family that might not want to own. I've had people rent for me for 8, 9, 10 years. I don't do student housing. I like to do long-term, family housing for people that want to live in my single-family homes.
That's good. I want to take a question from Jonathan. He says, why did you choose to start with the duplex? in terms of price and management. His friend does the same thing, ideally with one tenant living and then the other. So why duplex, the house hacking situation? Why would you recommend that?
Because you could have somebody help pay your, duplexes now. I just want to make this very clear to everyone. I was buying a long time ago when prices were very low, and now prices are extremely high. So I think that's where the house hacking helps, right? And even if you're a young man or woman out there that's like, you know what, I want to buy this home and actually rent out some rooms and kind of make this that kind of place, it really helps you pay down that mortgage over time. And then before you know it, I just sold one of my homes and I owed a very small principal and I sold it for a large amount. So it was nice to kind of get that influx of cash, Joe.
Yeah, that's good. So talk. I know you have beautiful legacy behind you with children. How do you involve your family in your real estate business?
Yeah, my wife doesn't do anything with the real estate business. She's a lawyer. She does her own thing. I think my kids, when I tell them about, they're very young right now. So when I tell them about how many houses daddy has, or what money is, sometimes they see me with some cash and they're like, what is the money? And then, I try to explain that to them. But as they get older, I can't wait for them to pick up tenant phone calls and learn how to call the handyman. And that's another thing I just want to talk about. You don't have to know how to do everything with your own hands when you invest in real estate. You will call handymen. They are expensive, but if you do buy the right property, you won't have to call them too many times. So I think, as they get a little older, I'll let them know, and I do, Joe, I have 30 homes right now. I'm probably going to sell about 20 of them over the next 20, 30 years and give them 10, right? That's my goal. I want to give them 10. They could do whatever they want with them. They could take the cash flow or they could sell them and have a wedding. They could do whatever they want.
Yeah. Me and my wife are actually products of parents who owned real estate and put us to work at a young age.
Yep, for nothing.
So we were property managers at 16, 17, 18, dealing with headaches and earn nothing. Just give them the money. But it's funny. What we've learned now is like game changing.
Yeah, but we know, this is the other thing about the LLC. I didn't even really talk about this, right? The LLC affords you so many different options to do, right? In terms of like business credit, building things. And then also, you could pay your kid $7,500 and put it in a custodial account and it's tax free. And because you have that, I'm already doing that. Their custodial accounts are crazy. I'm not even worried.
Yeah. That's good. That's good.
And that's all because of the power of real estate.
Sure. What do you think is your toughest? What was your biggest challenge when it came to investing, especially at the beginning?
Yeah, obviously money. We've talked about this before when I've worked with you guys. I think finding the cash up front is what people really have a struggle doing. But you just need to start saving now, right? Because it's a lot of money to put down on an investment property. It's not 3.5% like a FHA. It's 20% down. So that's where the partners come into play. That's where, I have no partners, but when I did start, I did need to ask somebody for some cash and give them a return. And I was able to do that. They're no longer involved because I paid them off. But I think that was one of the hardest things too.
That's so good. Like even people I've talked to, people I've coached, finding the capital is hard. Like finding the money. And so, I love that you bring up the fact that you ask people, how do you help people become more creative in terms of capital or financing deals? And when do you know when people are ready? What's your prototype to say, look, you're ready to get into real estate?
Yeah, I think for me, it's that, let's go back to my 9 to 5, right? Let's go back to my job, right? I think that's very important. I think everyone needs to hold on to their job because without a W-2, it's really hard to go to a bank and try to get into real estate. And the dual income is another thing that's very, very strong. I think you and your wife are a prime example of that, Joe, how you two do that. I think that is a very, very key part in order to get there. And the other thing is track record. It's really hard to go to somebody and ask somebody to invest with you if you've never done anything with real estate before. So it's very hard. You got to ask a family, a friend, somebody who personally trusts you and knows you. I can go to someone and say, hey, I have 35 houses, 55 doors. I need $200,000. And they'll say, okay, no problem. That sounds like a good deal.
Yeah. Sounds like you know what you're doing.
Yeah. Sounds like you know what you're doing.
I think that's what Adam talked about earlier, where it's like, look, it's about the financial principles. Like if you can't be a good steward with your own resources and manage your own money well, you can't expect other people to give you money to manage if your own house isn't done right. So
Yes.
I appreciate that.
I think so.
So look, I mean, again, you and I, we could talk real estate all day. I guess let me ask you just one last question before we transition. What would you advise, or to the person watching who's heard a lot about real estate, know that houses are expensive as hell right now? What counsel would you give them to invest in real estate and use it as a vehicle to fund their freedom?
Yeah, I think, get your ducks in order, get everything in order that you need to have, take that jump, go talk to the bank right now, go sit down and get pre-approved for a mortgage and see what you need to be successful. And then if you have the financial capability to do this, you need to take the leap that will pay off for you. Maybe not right now, but eventually in years to come, specifically people that live in a developing area, or, we all know what is going on in different cities, in Jersey City, Joe, and Newark and East Orange and all over where you're at up in Jersey. Just really believe in the vision that you have, and it will work out for you. But just take the small steps. Don't just jump right in, because you will get burned or you will lose what you were trying to. But just take the small steps. Come talk to Joe. Come at me on Instagram. I don't charge anybody anything for any type of advice or conversations. I love to do this. I'm an educator at heart, so I love to do it and see people succeed.
That's awesome. And Ike is part of our community. So you will see him. You'll find him. Ike, man, dude, I love you, brother. I appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Guys, like, look, this is how change starts to happen. Like when people take ownership, specifically in real estate, I believe real estate is probably one of the safest and best way to become a millionaire. It probably makes most of the millionaires in America, honestly.
Yeah. Can I talk, Joe? Somebody said something about refinancing in here.
Yeah.
Just to be very, very strategic on what you do when you refinance, right? Like what you do with that capital needs to make you a cash flow. Otherwise, you end up becoming underwater on your house. So you just need to be very strategic on what you're going to do with that capital. It's a great vehicle if you know what you're doing with that money.
Yeah. Good point.
Be
Good
smart.
point. Good point.
Look at your interests. Look at everything.
And look, guys, get a like talk to people who've done it. Like I think a lot of times we as a community, man, we stay isolated and we just make some mistakes. Learn from the mistakes that other people have made. And I know a lot of people say the market is bad right now. Well, let me tell you a secret. If you would have came to someone in 2002 and a home was $250,000, they'll tell you the market was bad then too, because it was too expensive. It's the way it works. You could still find a good deal today. And I'm less worried about interest rates if the cash flow that Ike was talking about is relevant. So all these things, man, is part of us reversing the trend of 2053 being the time where we go back to economic slavery, which won't happen, right? And so look, I'm grateful. I'm thankful for Ike and what he represents.
That was so good.
So good. And it's so good to stick you back. But we missed you. But seriously, like, look, I want you, you heard from Mike. I do think it's important to hear from people. And that's what FLA was really all about. It was designed to help people get the fundamentals right. But take it from a good friend of mine, Myron Edmonds, who's taken our course and seen his life transform. So we're going to go to him. And then after him, we're going to bring a rock star who I just met, who is super awesome to talk about budgeting, right? We're going to get into that. So I'll see y'all in a bit.
Hey, what's up, y'all? My name is Myron Edmonds. And financial legacy, what does that mean to me? A change in mindset. Here's the truth. A lot of people have money, but a lot of people do not have the mindset to manage money. And if you want to leave a legacy that's worth following, a legacy worth having, then you got to have the right mindset to have it. Man, before this class, honestly, I was a straight consumer, period. Just used money to spend. I got a bunch of bad advice from the wrong people, and I basically just used money to find ways to aggrandize a certain lifestyle and standard of living. I think what this course really helps you to do, without being redundant, but I think it's critical, is it changed my way of thinking. I won't name the person, but there's a very popular financial guru out there that gives advice that I think has been quite detrimental to my financial future. And I can think of at least 2 instances where I followed the advice and it just kept me on this nonstop wheel of staying where I am in student loan debt. And one of the things that this course has helped me to understand is that you just can't get out of debt. You can't just pay off debt. It's not inspirational, it's not motivational, it doesn't help you to see the big picture, but you have to create wealth simultaneously. And that right there has changed the game for me and has literally caused me to make more money in the past year than I've ever made in my entire life. One of the reasons why it's important for us, and I'm talking about us, people of color, for us to build a financial legacy, I'm gonna give you at least 2 reasons. The first reason is we owe it to ourselves, and not only owe it to ourselves, we owe it to our ancestors. Listen, we built this country. We built a lot of countries. We were stolen from our countries and from our places of origin, brought here, and we have not still got our 40 acres and a mule. And sadly, we're the #1 consumers, even though we benefit from billions of dollars of income. And sadly, many of us just don't know what to do with it. I think there are some other systemic things that have been holding us back financially. And so what this course helps you to do is not only see your personal responsibility, but also the social justice implications of how to turn things around for our people. Our people got to come up. We have to come up not only for ourselves. The second reason is we got to come up for the next generation. We cannot afford to repeat the mistakes of the past as it relates to building wealth. The time is now. And if I were you, I would sign up for FLA immediately, because not only is it going to change your current situation, but it's going to help to change the situation for all them children that you got coming in the future.
Financial Legacy Conference, let's welcome CEO of Master Your Mint. She helps business owners and individuals better budget their money to build generational wealth. Miss Prudence Rufus, with the power of ownership.
Hey, Prudence.
Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. These speakers here, they have me like pumped up, and I told my husband, I'm like, listen, we need to like have another conversation.
Nah, look, we changed the game. And look, God has allowed me and my wife to align with some dope people. And some of those dope people include you, Prudence. I am super excited. I was talking to my guy, Kimon, and he had told me about you. And I started watching your Instagram, watching what you do. And I was like, yo, she gets it. She gets it. Now, please, if you can, just tell us a little bit more about kind of who you are. I want everyone watching kind of to know what God has poured in your heart to help bless the world.
Oh, man. Well, I'm a mom, a wife, a friend, a sister, a human. I'm also an entrepreneur. I'm also a dreamer. I have done amazing things, but I've also had great failures, and I've recovered from those things. I am most passionate in this season of my life about helping creatives move from financial confusion to financial clarity. Like I want to see everybody who has like a fuzzy set of understanding what's going on in their businesses to make sense of it and to know what their goals are and the path to get to that goal. And a lot of that starts with budgeting.
That's good. That's good.
That's so awesome. So what would you say is the primary reason that individuals and families need to establish a secured budget?
Follow me on this. You know, when you get in your car and you got an invitation to a birthday party, you don't know the location, you've never been there before, but you just get in your car and you just start driving.
Yeah.
Right? That's kind of not how it goes. These days we pick up our phone or we get in our car, we plug the address in, and it gives us directions to go there. And we have these directions to go there, but as you're driving there, traffic might show up. There might be a car accident. There might be a road closure. You might be talking to your husband and realize that, hey, we missed a turn or something could happen. Well, what your budget is, it's the GPS for what happens with your money. And it's the GPS that happens with your money when you have to make detours. It's the GPS that happens with your money when life shows up unexpectedly. It's the GPS that happens when you have 5 birthday parties a month versus just one. It's the GPS that happens when your tires blow out. It's the GPS that happens when your mom got sick and now you're not working this week.
You're unpredictable.
That's so good. And so I love that analogy with our budget being our GPS for our money. Why do we struggle with it though, Prudence? Like, I mean, when I code people, like, we would start a budget, we kind of keep it in our head, but we just can't stick to it. Like,
and a lot of people think that because there's nothing in their account, they're doing so well.
Yeah.
But they're not.
There's something there. There's something there.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is that the financial industry has for a long time talked about your budget as this fixed document. So when you go to school for finance, what they teach you is how to budget for a corporation. What they don't teach you is how to budget for your household. And your budget is a living, moving document. The budget that you had in January is probably not the budget that works in September. Because life has changed. Maybe you had a baby. Maybe you had to buy a new car. Maybe you had to fix the water heater in your house. Maybe you decided that you're going to get a new job, and so now you have more money in. I think the biggest problem with budgets is that people, one, decide that they don't want to have any guide at all.
Yeah.
They don't want any guide at all. But if they have a guide, that guide is so rigid that it has no space for breathing room. Yeah. So, for example, a zero-based budget is actually, I think, a really dangerous thing, because I think one of the things of life is really to plan joy into your budget. So you have to leave elasticity for the things that bring you happiness. I may not know that when I go to Walmart, I don't like Walmart, so let's say Target. When I go to Target, I may see that like inspires me and it brings me joy. But if I have a budget that is so tight that has no room for joy, then I can't buy that t-shirt that brings me joy. Whereas I could plan a budget and know that in my budget, there's $100 of flex money. And I want to use my flex money to buy the $25 t-shirt.
You're creating some weird ideas. My wife was saying, I need that flex budget.
I was like, give me some.
Yeah, you gotta have flex money.
Yeah.
So it's so funny. It's funny you said Walmart, Target. Like, funny story in the spirit of transparency. Like, we spend so much money in Target now. Like, Target has its own line item in our budget. So like every month, Target, like, you know.
Yes.
Because I can get
Target and Amazon.
And Amazon has entered our budget too.
This could be for me, it could be for the kids, it could be for the kitchen, it could be for the house, it could be for anything. All right. Yeah. In true transparency, I struggle with the budget. So what are some key elements to have a successful budget?
Yeah.
Plan for it before it happens. So the first thing I think every household should do, whether it's a 1-person household or a 12-person household, or like Lavada, a 9-person household, is you need to know what your absolute deal breakers are. So you have to pay your mortgage, you have to pay your rent, you have to pay your car note, you have to pay your insurance, you have to pay tuition if your kid goes to daycare or private school. What are those deal breakers, right? How much money are you budgeting for food? Not how much money you wish you would spend on food, but how much money you are actually spending on food. Like, pull up DoorDash and take a look at it. Like, what did we do the last 3 months? What did we do the last 6 months? Because I might say that I want to spend $500 on DoorDash. However, the reality is that I've been spending $700 on DoorDash. So a $500 budget might not be realistic. So the first thing is to look at like what your absolute deal breakers, your recurring expenses are, know what those are, know what that amount is. And then plan the spending for that money before it happens. So if you get paid, today is the 18th, right? So let's say somebody's going to get paid again at the end of the month, the 31st, the 30th is September. Going to get paid on the 30th. So now is the time to plan your budget for your next paycheck. And you got to leave room for flex.
Yeah, I love that.
Got to leave room for life happening. And I'm not just talking about the joys. I'm also talking about the curveballs.
Yeah, that's so good. That's so good. Let me ask you this, because obviously the theme for this event is the power of ownership. And there's some people who listen to Adam and Lavada and say, I'm ready to start a business. Do you budget differently your business than you do your personal household? Like, how would you advise the entrepreneur who's trying to run his business, and maybe not pay himself versus pay himself, any wisdom or guidance on how to budget for them?
Absolutely. They both need a budget.
Okay.
Your business needs a budget and your personal life needs a budget. Now, your business budget is going to look a little bit different. So you have recurring expenses. You're going to look at, okay, so how much do we have to pay employees? What's been our track record? If we don't have a track record, what do we expect that our track record would be? And then you need to look at how much you want to pay yourself, add 30% for tax, right? And once you then look at that, decide on how much your product costs. So if your product, this is a business owner, if your product costs $300, how many pieces of product do you need to sell to meet your budget?
Yeah.
And pay yourself. And this is a conversation I have almost daily. I have a spreadsheet that, brings joy and clarity to this conversation.
But,
go ahead.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
When it comes to your personal life, you have to know how much you need to pay yourself so you can then add that back into your business budget. So you can know how much money your business needs to generate for your personal life to happen. And yes, it is perfectly normal that when your business is starting out, you might not pay yourself for a while. That means you have to have another source of managing your personal finances, because you're going to need, a new toothbrush every now and then.
Yeah.
So I have a tendency to rob Peter to pay Paul when no one is there. What do you think are some of the bigger challenges that people encounter with their budget? Because I will pull from the groceries, or I will pull from my personal to do groceries if I want to overextend.
Or pull from mine.
Or pull for his personal money and be like, "Ooh, we need this." What are other challenges that you feel like people face with sticking to their budget?
That is a real challenge, but it doesn't have to be. The first thing is that you set up your budget so you know where the money is. It's one thing to do it by accident. It's another thing to purposefully make a mindful decision that, hey, we under budgeted in this area. There's no magic money coming in. And so next time when we plan our budget, we need to shift the ratios a little bit. That's why your budget is a living, moving document. It's like a GPS. You made a detour. You have to redirect. It is not. And I think part of the thing is that people tend to feel really bad. And have negative feelings when they have to make an adjustment to your budget. But it actually is a really powerful thing when you have to make an adjustment to your budget, because that's what you're supposed to do. It probably will take you 6 months to get a budget that kind of works okay. And by the time it kind of works okay, your life has adjusted again and you need to create another budget. But you at least have a shape.
Framework.
That you're able to, a framework, right? That you're able to fix and change and adjust and do that with power and with authority, and with grace to yourself.
Yeah, that's so good.
Oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just going to say ouch, because Kimon told me to say ouch if I can't say amen. No, but I agree with you. I think one of the things we teach is budgets have to also be dynamic. So it can't just be a static, hey, you do an Excel spreadsheet, you leave it there, and you go about life, and then you come at the end of the month.
At the end.
You gotta be. It has to be a trackable thing that we're moving, that we're assessing. So,
the tighter your money is, the more you need to budget. So maybe you can budget for a month, but maybe you just need to budget for a week at a time. Maybe you just need to budget for a day at a time. This is how much money we have. These are the responsibilities that we have.
Correct.
So how do I shift from feeling so restricted to more empowered with the budget?
She's throwing jabs at me, but I'm gonna let you answer that, Prudence. I'll deal with her later.
It's a delicate conversation that you need to have with yourself, and you really do need to start by giving yourself credit and giving yourself the power and giving yourself the authority. This is your money.
Yeah.
You are going to spend it in ways that meet your goals short term, meet your goals long term, and literally actually be proud of that. Like, I've lived in a world where I had $4.23 in the account. I've lived in the space where I had to pick up the 5-gallon jar of pennies and had to go to the store and empty it into the coin master and hope that whatever came out was enough for me to survive. I've lived that life. I no longer, thankfully, but I had to figure out how to budget with what little that I had in order to be able to manage the money that I have now.
You gotta be faithful. And the Bible says faithful over few. Like, if you can't manage the $4, how are you gonna manage the $400,000?
Correct. And some of that managing is being able to say yes, being able to say no, being able to know when to give, being able to know when that it is not time to give yet. Like, this is not an organization or a thing that I'm passionate about, but this is like, it's a fluid thing. It is not static. It is not dynamic. And then dealing with the shame when things don't go right. Like, it was a very difficult space for me as a finance professional with all of these licenses to go into the supermarket with the gallon of jar and flipping it over in Coinstar and figuring out how we're going to live our life.
That's so good, Prudence. And
I want to put it into a different perspective too, though. But like, how can you make an effective budget for someone who's living paycheck to paycheck?
That's good.
I mean, because I've been there too, just trying to get a lunch with, emptying out your piggy bank. Like, I need something, anything. A little
Then you budget that paycheck.
That's it.
You budget that paycheck. That also means that there are some things that just won't get paid. But that's not your focus. Your focus is,
what can you do?
I paid this. I accomplished this. My money kept me alive this week.
Yeah.
No, I couldn't buy a Louis bag, but I ate.
They come.
And you know what? The thing you said is the GPS. And I'm telling you this, and this is, I've been praying over this for a while. The GPS is really the vision of what God wants for you. And if you're married, your partner. And I think I'm telling you, doing a budget in an interesting way, and you could appreciate this, Prudence, it brings the communication level between you and your significant other to a whole nother level.
Transparency in a way that can't be described.
And it doesn't have to be like a level of rigor that you and everyone worries about. Like, when, like, me and my wife, we dream together. Like, babe, imagine if we can do the dot. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. And then you just translate it into paper. And so you start realizing money could flow. The problem is a lot of people lack vision, right? They lack clarity, to your point that you talked about. And people perish when there's no vision. And this is why it's like, this is why I put you here in this particular segment, in this conference. Because we can do all this entrepreneur, real estate, but if it doesn't trickle down to a budget
and
planning,
yeah,
fails.
You're not going anywhere. Yeah, but your budget is, even between wife and husband, right? Like, you have priorities that she doesn't. She has priorities that you don't, and you get to honor each other's priorities with your budget.
Yes, to show how much we love each other.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying. So when you get these nice stuff, it's love. But Prudence, look, we are definitely going to have you again talking to our community. Like, I want people to know, I've never talked to someone about a budget who's so enthused and does it in a way it's so, most people run away when I try to have a conversation about budget, but you made it so engaging, and I thank you so much.
It takes a level of detail, and I think it's so important that people understand that they have to take charge of their lives. Yeah. So it's beyond just, being restricted, but it's putting into perspective that in order to plan for your future or to make the upgrades that you need in life, you have to be in control of your money. You have to be in control of your thoughts. And then once you gain control of all of those things, you can God will create the path for you to just flourish.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Prudence, thank you so much. Is there any one last word you would want to tell for the folks who said, you know what? Darn it, we're going to start a budget this month. Anything you want to share with them before we sign off on that?
a lot of it is changing your mindset and understanding that budget brings balance. Budget brings better boundaries. Budget brings boldness. Budget brings big benefits. Budget brings breakthroughs, bright beginnings, bravery. Like, budget is your belief in your money being able to help you to live the dream and to live the life that you dreamed about.
That's good. That's good. That's good. That's good. Prudence, we love you. We gonna bring you back. All right, we gonna bring you back. We locked in for life now. And so, thank you so much, Prudence. We appreciate it, guys. I hope you're tuning in. We are rounding off this conference. We have some exciting news to announce at the end. So please stay tuned.
Put, guys.
Stay put. Stay tuned. All this is good, but if we don't help the next generation, get it right, we will lose. We will lose. And so, before we have my guy Chris Corinthan come to talk about how we can make sure that our children escape the student loan trap. We're now going to hear from a friend of mine, Liz, who has benefited greatly from FLA and now has a new point of view and a new perspective on how to deal with money and win with money like she never won before. So I'll see you guys in a bit.
My name is Elizabeth King-Kazada, and financial legacy to me means freedom. It means freedom to have the ability to go where you want, when you want. Financial freedom for me also means, and most importantly for me, it means freedom for my children. Prior to being enrolled in FLA, I honestly did not have a financial picture. It had gotten to a point where I had just become overwhelmed with debt. And honestly, it got to the point where I didn't even want to check my bank account because it was like, okay, I don't know how much is there. I have to pay this bill. I have to pay this bill. I really was not focused. That's a major issue for me prior to FLA, was being focused on my finances and distribution of funds. I learned numerous things with FLA. One of the things that I learned was to actually sit down and pay attention to what's in my bank account. What am I paying money on? I just learned how to save better, how to save for myself, as well as how to save for my children, to start saving for their college, and not just to have a savings account, but to actually have a plan for them, so that once they graduate from high school, they won't be inundated with student loans like I was. Being a part of FLA has been very beneficial for me. It's been very beneficial for my husband, my family, and I definitely want to remain a part of FLA, and I would definitely recommend becoming a part of FLA to my family and friends for their success. Financial legacy for people of color is extremely important, like not just building for yourself, but leaving something behind for your children, leaving something behind for your children's children. You have to teach yourself, you have to discipline yourself, and you have to teach your offspring the same thing, so that as they grow older, they're able to build a financial legacy for themselves, so that they don't constantly have this mentality, which most people of color have. It's let's spend, let's buy, let's acquire. That's success, and that's not success. Success is having something to look back on. Success is being able to have funds in your bank account, or to have stocks that you can rely on, so that when you really do want to do something, you have those funds saved for yourself.
Financial Legacy Conference, let's welcome the founder of Finlit University and Debt Free Degree Academy. His life's focus is on empowering students to graduate college debt-free. Mr. Chris Corinthan, with the power of ownership.
What's going on, Financial Legacy Conference? Oh my goodness. If you have been missing it, you've been missing out on some life-changing information. So today we are going to kind of bring this thing home and kind of connect the gap, right? Bridge that gap, rather, from where most young adults start and what the possibilities are. I mean, every speaker that's been coming up has been literally resonating with me, from Adam and him being a physical manifestation of his grandfather's wildest dreams, right? And Lavada pushing through to pursue her dreams in entrepreneurship despite the challenges she's faced, and being a mompreneur, right? Of 7 kids. Wow. You know? And then we have just everybody, right? Got Brenton talking about the stocks and bonds and breaking that down like nobody I've ever heard before, right? And they have Ike with the real estate development and being able to grow something monumental that he can pass down to his children, and then bringing it home with a actual documented and written plan of what your money is doing with Prudence. So I'm just so excited, and I thank you, Joe and Sasha and the Financial Legacy family for inviting me to talk today. And we're going to go right into it, okay? We're going to go right into escaping the generational trap of student loan debt, right? How to pay for college without student loans, And one of the things I want to talk about when we're talking about money and the concept of it, right? I believe Andrew Young said it best, right? And John Hope Bryan over Operation Hope, he actually quotes them all the time. But one of the things that Ambassador Young says is to live in a system of free enterprise and not understand the rules of free enterprise must be the definition of slavery. So I'll say that one more time. Ambassador Young says to live in a system of free enterprise and not understand the rules of free enterprise must be the definition of slavery. So the tools and strategies and ideas, right? Ideas are what everything around us we see are birthed from ideas. And so if the concepts have resonated with you, I hope that we can actually add this to the list of things that will help free us from any type of trap or burdens or slavery, if you will. And so let's go into it, right? Let's go right into the information because I have a lot to share. Mr. Reed, he's in the top right, and then we have Isabel, we have Taylor in the middle, and then we have Nia. If I had more time, I'd go into so much about their personal stories, but these are real life examples of students who have cracked the code, if you will, and been able to pay for college without loans. Okay, they've been able to pay and fund their education without taking out student loans. All right. As a matter of fact, in the top left, that's Nia. Nia actually got over $1 million. She was a recipient of over $1 million in scholarship funds to go to any school that she wanted to. And then she ended up getting paid internships, and she actually graduated with refunds in the amount of $40,000 from scholarships, right? And so, and these are just examples of students that I personally work with. Me and my team have personally worked with to get scholarships. So this stuff is just to show you that it works, right? It's possible for it to work. A little bit about me. I've been blessed to be able to speak to many organizations and people from all over, telling you what you're going to learn today, okay? And a little bit about my backstory. And so the way I had the slide is supposed to come up one by one, but anyway, we're gonna roll on. So in the first picture right there, it was my whole financial literacy and personal finance lessons in life. My whole education on personal finance was go to school, get good grades, get a high paying job, and put something away for a rainy day. Now, how many of you have actually had that same lesson, right? Okay, this is the rule or the rules to success. Go to school, get good grades, get a high paying job, and put something away for a rainy day. And then over time, then you heard things like, and invest. But I didn't really know what that was, right? And so I ended up going to school on scholarship. And my grades kind of fell, and I lost a scholarship, and I had to get those grades back up in order to get my scholarship back. But in that period, I ended up getting student loans. Graduated, then I worked for this billion-dollar company as a project analyst, and everything was great. My family and I were traveling more, or my wife and I were traveling more at the time, and we were just getting stuff. Everything was just great, right? I didn't really have any background in, budgeting. I didn't have a Prudence in my life, right? And so I was just getting the money and spending it, getting the money and spending it. And I was in my early 20s, and I was getting close to six figures at the time, which was more than what I was getting at my previous job. So I was like, okay, as long as you have money, then all your financial problems are taken care of. But many of you know that that's not always true. Just because you have money doesn't automatically mean you're going to be a good steward of that money. And so I ended up getting the job, and then, my wife and I were expecting our firstborn son, and here he came. Chris Jr. came, CJ came, and he was a blessing to us. And then I had to go back to the house to get some more stuff to bring back to the hospital for him. My supervisor called me, and she said, "Congratulations, Chris, on your baby boy. but we got to let you go. So here I was. I thought I followed the rules. I thought I did everything I was supposed to do right. How could this happen to me? I was devastated. It was like a gut punch. I didn't know how this happened because I did everything right. I didn't have things in place at the time so that I didn't know what a emergency fund was. I had nothing in saving because all the money I was getting weekly now, I was just spending, and all the savings that we had were depleted for baby stuff because I said, oh, we could just stack it back up. But it was all gone. 2 months later, and get this now, there was a time, and you'll see what happened. So 2 months later, after I got laid off, still at home, the girl across the hall upstairs went out, must have went partying, let the stove on, and the whole entire building went up in flames. And guess who didn't have renter's insurance? We didn't. Because I said, I'm responsible, so why would I pay for the optional renter's insurance when I don't have to? Because at the time, apartment complexes made it optional to get the renter's insurance. I'm like, I'm gonna save that $15. I'm responsible. And then we ended up losing everything in a fire, no money, no job. And the Red Cross literally had to give us a $250 gift card so we can get clothes from Walmart. So here it is, me and my wife and our brand new baby boy, and we're living out of this blue tub from the clothes we were able to get from Walmart, and we were able to stay in a spare bedroom that my wife's parents cleared out for us. And we lived out of that for several months until we got back on our feet. And even though I lost everything, I still had that student loan debt. Literally lost everything, but I still had that student loan debt. And so that's another reason why I'm on a mission. I was on a mission. I got into higher ed, worked in higher ed for 20 years. Most of that was in the Office of Financial Aid and the financial literacy coordinator and mentoring director and so on. And so a lot of the things that we're going to cover are some of these things where we're going to put a heavy emphasis on scholarships. Okay. So many of you know about the 529 fund. So depending on how old your child is, right? This is a tax advantage vehicle, if you will, where you could put money in it. And then when you can use it for any educational expenses for your child and so on. Now, the only reason why I was talking about if you have a lifetime rollover, and you'll want to talk to an expert on these different options that you have. Because let's say, for example, you follow some of the strategies here that you learned tonight, and then you end up with an overabundance of scholarships, and you don't even have to touch your 529. Wouldn't that be a blessing? And now you can actually take that money and you can put it in other retirement accounts. But talk to a professional about that. Now, here's why we don't like student loans. Student loans, $1.7 trillion in national student loan debt. 1.77 plus and growing by the day. And then here you go, like back during Richard Nixon's era, right? There was this thing called the SLMA, which is the Student Loan Marketing Association. So the government, along with other agencies, were pushing for students to get student loans. It was the norm. It was like a gatekeeper, if you will. If you want to have a successful life and a successful financial life, you have to get student loans. And that was what the marketing became. And so Student Loan Marketing Association later became known as SLMA, which later became known as Sallie Mae. And it became privatized, and the rest is history. And then they did a study years ago saying that 38% of students who take out student loans don't even earn the degree. Not earn the degree in their majors, they either drop out because of finances or grades or other things. And this study, just for clarification, was in a 6-year period, right? So if they ended up graduating 7, 8, 9 years later, they weren't included in the study. But in that 6 years, 38% didn't end up getting a degree. So two of the things that I need you to understand are there are direct costs and indirect costs, all right? The direct cost is what we're really going to focus on because that's your tuition, the cost to go to class, right? And the fees. So usually they're lumped together, tuition and fees. And then you have your room and board, otherwise known as your housing and your meal plans. All the other costs, you'll still be considered a student, but you probably want to budget for money for books because if you go to class with no books, it's going to be a little challenging, right? And then there's some resources to get books for free, and that's a whole nother presentation by itself. But the main things that we want to focus on is starting at square one, because even working several years in financial aid, many parents and students would come not even knowing what the exact cost would be. They'd have an idea, but that's the starting ground of where we need to go from. Okay. Now, if you have a child in high school, talk to your school counselor, administrators, and find out if your child is eligible for dual enrollment. Dual enrollment is a way that your child can take college courses for free while they're in high school. I know one student that's actually local in the city that I live in. She actually earned her high school diploma and then days later earned her associate's degree. So she actually earned a degree. No, as a matter of fact, she earned the degree and then weeks later she graduated from high school. It's because the college graduation was a couple weeks before the high school graduation. So imagine that, getting college credit, and then they actually featured her on like Breakfast Club and all kind of outlets or whatever. And she's local here in the city. So just be able to use that to your advantage. Other ways are if you're taking classes like at a community college or things like that, there are other ways. Now, skipping class, all right? None of our kids skip class, so this isn't for them. But there's actually a legitimate and legal way to skip class and still get credit for it. And so these are the college level examination program. These are CLEP exams, and sometimes you can even waive the cost of the CLEP exams. So you can actually take several. I know one expert that actually works with some of our students. She actually took 8 CLEP exams within 2 weeks, and she was able to test out of all those classes where she didn't have to take the class, and she received credit for that grade, and it was on her transcript. And then so the cost compared $93 compared to almost $1,500 for a class. That's a big comparison, right? What's a scholarship? A scholarship is money given to a student to help further education. Now, here's one thing I want to bring home. They did a study and it shows that every year, and this number is going up, there's $100 million of unclaimed scholarships every year. This isn't money that you're applying for or your child is applying for and they're just not getting it. This is money that that's just sitting there for you to get and nobody's applying for it. Okay. And then they actually did they actually broke down this story on in a Forbes article, right? Now look in your backyard. So what we want to do is we want to start inside out. I call this the LLC strategy. LLC meaning the local and low competition scholarships. So you'll start with whatever school district your child is in, even if it's private school, because some kids may be going to a church school and they might be part of a conference with that private school and things like that. And then they have other scholarships associated with that organization. But then you have others, like if you're in a certain school district, then you can go to that school district's website and type in scholarships. It'll take you to that page. And a lot of times you'll find local businesses and organizations in that community that are looking for those hometown heroes. They're looking to support your child to further their education. Okay, so that's that. Now you also have your local community foundation locator. So Google community foundation locator, and then now whatever city you're in, whatever zip code, it will show you all the surrounding community foundations in your area. You could just copy the name of the foundation, put scholarships after it, and it'll take you right to the page where that foundation will offer all the scholarships for the local students. These are your low competition, because most of the time you'll find 5, 10, at the most 15 students on average that'll apply for these scholarships versus the 5, 10, 15,000, right? Because you're getting to those national scholarships. Now we have scholarships that cover your tuition only scholarships, and then you have your outside private scholarships. Okay, so your tuition only scholarships mean that, for example, let's say your child is awarded $50,000, right? But it's a tuition only scholarship. If your school is only $10,000 for the tuition, that scholarship is going to shrink down to match whatever that tuition cost is. That's one side, right? Or if you're in this, like, for example, in the state of Georgia, the Hope Scholarship is based off of, if you have a 3.0 and above and you go into a state school, then you can actually, or one of the approved universities in the university system of Georgia, then they'll pay for 100% of the tuition cost, okay, up to a certain amount. Now you have outside private scholarships or external scholarships, meaning if you win this scholarship, you will get this amount. Meaning if they say it's $10,000 that you'll be awarded, we'll send it to your school. Most of the time, this is how it works. We'll send it to your school, then the school will verify that it's you and put it on your account or your child's account. Once they have it, then if everything is paid for, what's left over is usually refunded. I know some of your parents probably had, some of y'all parents out there who went to college, it's not you, you probably know of some other students who had these big refund checks, but they were getting these refund checks from the overage of the student loans that they borrowed. So if it only cost them $10,000 to pay for everything, but they took out a $20,000 student loan, now they're taking trips to Cancun and buying cars and doing all this other stuff. And you're like, man, must be nice, right? But the thing is, they were doing it on borrowed money. And now they're, $50,000, $100,000 plus in debt because they lived the life of that short term, right? And so one of the things we want to focus on before I close is we want to focus on there are need-based scholarships, which is based on household information, and you have merit-based scholarships, okay? So merit-based scholarships are based on test scores, academic gifts, extracurricular activities. Scholarship Owl, Scholly, College Board, scholarships.com, Going Merry. These are just a few of the platforms that have vetted scholarships so that the scholarships can find you and you don't have to find the scholarships, okay? That's Christopher Gray right there. He was featured on Shark Tank. He was actually a student who was homeless at one point in high school, graduated, went to Drexel, got $1.3 million in scholarships, and created the Scholly platform. You can get scholarships without applying by using apps like Raise Me, and just based on whatever your child is already doing, they can get scholarship commitments. This is Taylor. This is one of my students, and she actually got a scholarship without writing an essay and without needing to put her GPA. And she won $10,000 for a 2-minute video, and she won it twice. Okay. Live My Scholarship out in San Diego. They just had a conference. I met with 300 of the scholars out there. They were all amazing. And these are all video scholarships where you don't have to write an essay. Now, I don't have time to go into full detail about all these essays, but if you have these 5 essays, this is usually 90 to 95% of most of the scholarship prompts that you'll be writing on. So if you have your rags to riches, which is like your overcoming story, your resilient story, your impact leadership, things that you plan on making an impact in your leadership, plans for the money, why are you getting into your major, and then wildcard are those prompts that you often see, okay? Once you have your essays, you apply for 10 times the amount you need in scholarships. So if it costs you $30,000 a year, you need to apply for $300,000 in scholarships, because most of the scholarships your child will apply for, you'll get denied. So it becomes a numbers game. And then the easy way to do that is just by applying for 2 scholarships a day. So if today is, September 1st, by November 1st, your child is applied for 120 scholarships. This is Bobby. There's another one of my students. He ended up getting 120 scholarships. And this is the last thing that I want to mention, right? These are life skills that your child is learning. How to write persuasively. It really highlights their community involvement and pushes them to want to just do that more. Your financial literacy, right? Once they get this refund check and the overage, how are they planning to budget it, right? Like everything that Prudence taught us, how are we going to do that, right? Or even with the stocks and other things, right? And then we have leadership development, resilience, and grit. So I just want to thank you all for taking the time to just put yourself in a position to learn these things, not just for you, but for generations to come, so we can break those generational curses and have a better future, not just for ourselves, but generations to come. So thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Sasha. I really appreciate the invitation, and prayerfully, some of this information sank in and it'll really change the trajectory of the future.
Let me ask you a question. Are you struggling living paycheck to paycheck? Or maybe you have a whole bunch of debt that you don't even know how you're going to navigate and get through it. Or maybe even better yet, you might have some margin and some resources, but you don't know where to put it to make it multiply and grow for you. You've just been saving, and the needle's not moving. Look, if you have any of those struggles, I get it. I was there. Back in 2014, me and my wife, we were $100,000 in debt, and we had no line in sight to retirement or being able to do things that God wanted us to do. And I remember praying to God, like, Lord, if you could deliver me out of this thing, I'm going to serve you. And you know what God had to show me? That, like, I'm not going to just put money in your lap, but I'm going to give you the tools, and I'm going to teach you how to be successful. Your boy had to get a coach. I had to get a community, and I understood some of the steps. And glory be to God, today, not only me and my wife out of $100,000 in debt, but we multimillionaires now. We are blessing communities. We're taking young African-American kids to Africa to learn more about the history. None of this is possible without doing the necessary steps. So here's my call to action for you. we are launching the Financial Legacy Academy community. This is going to be a community where me and my wife is going to disciple, coach, and train folks to take them through the same steps that me and my wife went through to put you on a pathway towards prosperity. We're going to look at your debt situation. We're going to help you protect wealth. We're going to teach you how to become intelligent owners, but more importantly, we're going to help you identify what God has called you to do. Go to www.financiallegacyacademy.org/community and let me and my wife take you to the next level. I'm going to see you on the other side.
Guys, thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, all of the participating cast. You guys did amazing, phenomenal job.
And look, for those who tuned in, I hope you guys saw value in this. Like me and my wife, we're on a mission. Like we are trying to build a generation of millionaires operating in the purpose of God. When I look at the stats of like 2053 about us having a zero net worth, that keeps me up at night. Mm-hmm. And we're committed to do everything we can in our power to do it. That's why we brought all these panelists who have so much expertise and have so much game to help people. And so here's the ask. And I want to appeal specifically to individuals who are struggling with debt, mm-hmm. who feel financially anxious, who don't maybe not have the time that they think they have to actually go and do the work, but yet you want to figure out how to get the right strategy, some practical steps and some guide points because you want to live a life of financial freedom. Yes. If that's what you desire, then let me submit to you or let me offer to you to join the Financial Legacy community. Me and my wife, we've been through this. Like, I mean, when I say we came from the bottom, $100,000 in debt, that's how we started it. And so again, we would love to coach and mentor and disciple you. FLA program, we put our blood, sweat, and tears into it, but our story and how God delivered us, and we got some of the best minds like Ike, who was there today as part of the curriculum. And if you sign up for the program before September 30th, you'll get 1 year free of the community. It'll be covered. After that, it's going to revert back to you only get 3 months. And so, we want to encourage you guys to join because now is the time where we start to build a financial legacy that we can be proud of.
Yeah. Awesome, guys. I know we're at the end of the time, but we're so grateful for everybody's contribution today. And we hope to see you in the community. And we hope that you get to take financial legacy, the class, and learn how to implement all the things we learned today, whether it's budgeting or investing, just using all the tools that we learned and propelling you through life for the next chapter.
Awesome.
The best chapter.
Awesome. So we want to be respectful for your time. Again, I know we were here at 8:00. Again, we thank you for participating and joining us. And guys, this is our time. Like, let's build something that God could be proud of. Let's find out what God wants you to do, but more importantly, let's create the margin so we can do what we're doing, which is we've dedicated our lives to the calling. As some of y'all know, my wife retired in 2021. I left corporate August 1 this year, and we are all in on being able to help other millionaires grow. So financiallegacyacademy.org/community. Sign up today. Don't wait. It's $4.99, and you'll have access to a year of weekly coaching from me and the team. All right? Appreciate y'all.
Thank you, guys.